We're going to tell you a brand new story today. So let's get started. As I got off the bus, the last of the sun's rays was setting, and I could smell home, like a recollection from a long time ago. I had been in the harsh environment of the military for years, when order and chaos were the norm. I could now at last take back my own life. However, freedom might be misleading. The weight of change was palpable, a strain tingling at the nape of my neck. Marine, hello. A voice pierced my thoughts, demanding to be heard. It was my old unit mate, Lieutenant Gregson. Grinning, he walked over with his hands stuffed deep in his pockets. You survived and returned unharmed. I began to question whether you would ever give up pursuing ghosts. I shot a forced smile that stopped short of a grin. Ghosts don't haunt me. But I'm here now. What scenario is this? And Gregson shrugged, his face going from cheerful to serious. You're aware of how it is. Life carries on. However, it could be wise to see how your wife is doing. Heard a few things. Things? My stomach turned. What sort of items? Only hearsay. Nothing substantial. You are aware of how little towns are. He paused, looking for something in my eyes. Man, just use caution. You're a hero around here, but you know how that can turn. With a sinking heart, I nodded. I appreciate you letting me know. There was the typical tightness of fear in my belly as Gregson walked away. I hadn't been back home long enough for the betrayal to start casting shadows, but my chest was constricted, telling me differently. I passed the homes where memories hung on the walls like ghosts as I drove along the sleepy streets. I felt a feeling of dread when I got to my own house. The door opened and my wife, Jenna, appeared with a practiced grin on her face. You're at your house. At last, her arms encircled me, although I sensed something behind her closed eyelids. A flash of something I was not entirely sure what it was. Yes, I am back, I murmured, drawing nearer to her. The familiar yet distant warmth of her flesh. How are you doing? Well, nothing special. Work, taking care of matters in this area. She took a step backward, her grin still fixed on her face, but her eyes briefly wandered elsewhere. Tonight, let's rejoice. I prepared your favorite dish. I tried to grin, but something inside of me kept tense. Sounds fantastic. Dinner arrived and was greeted with hilarity against the walls as well as forced laughs. With every buzzing sound, Jenna's phone sent a shudder down my spine. I ignored the uneasy sensation that persisted despite my best efforts. Maybe all those years of fighting and lying had made me paranoid. My mind raced as I laid in bed later that night. I turned to look at Jenna. She turned to face me. Something kept me from reaching out and bringing her closer. The faint sound of her phone buzzing returned, and my sense of dread grew stronger. I tried to shrug it off by closing my eyes. But I could not sleep. I picked up my phone and gave Gregson a call early the next morning. Hello, this is me. Are you still here? Yes, I am present. What's going on? I need you to look into this for me. I have a suspicion that Jenna is not feeling well. Regarding it, I will inform you of my findings. I sensed the walls closing in as the day stretched on. Though Jenna exuded brightness and joy, there was a thread of strain underlying it all. She kept glancing at her phone, and I saw her expression change from delight to worry many times. Something began to grow in my stomach. Are you all right? Over dinner? I inquired, bending forward to meet her eyes. Naturally, simply said. Her eyes flickered as she hesitated. Just have a lot of work on my mind. You're aware? Correct? I looked at her, looking for clues, but she was very good at hiding. If you need to chat, I'm available. With a dismissive sweep of her hand, she let out a frightened chuckle. Really, I'm okay. The more days went by, the more uneasy I felt. Initially, Gregson's reports were irregular, but they quickly got increasingly concerning. You were correct. I've been conversing with certain people. Rumor has it that Jenna has been seeing someone else a lot, a person going by Rick. The name rang like a bullet through my mind. I balled my hands, feeling as though someone had punched me in the stomach. At what time? Personal. Together. They have been spotted. A great deal. Oh no. With a pounding heart, I whispered. I must find out more. Find out the reason behind this madness. We'll manage. Just keep your cool, please. Do not act hastily. I refused to. However, the words seemed meaningless. I was lying awake that night. I feel anger and betrayal circling around me. Not yet, not in front of her. I have to use some smart thinking. As a Marine, I was taught to persevere and outwit. I wouldn't allow my feelings control what I did. I made the decision to give it a try the next day. I decided to take a different way home and made a stop at a little cafe where I knew Jenna would frequently have lunch. As I entered, the bell above the door jingled, and I looked around to see if anyone I knew. I then noticed her. Rick was seated across the table from Jenna. They chuckled and leaned in close, their chemistry evident. My heart raced. Their chat was not audible to me. The way she gazed at him and her effortless chuckle left me feeling as though a dagger had twisted through my stomach. My heart was pounding as I went outdoors and took out my phone. When Gregson replied, I added, I need you to do something for me. I have to be fully informed about Rick. Everything from his wealth to where he works. Regarding it. Just maintain your composure. Be calm. I gave a sour laugh. After I've handled this, I'll feel at ease. I ended my mental race. I required more than simply knowledge. I required a strategy. I couldn't just approach Jenna. She would control it, twist it. Similar to the field, I had to be computed. That evening, I went up to her. Where did you spend today? Looking up from her phone was Jenna. Pretending to be innocent. Straight out. Why? Just inquiring. I noticed you and Rick in the cafe. Her countenance turned pallid. I briefly noticed a glimmer of terror. We had just been discussing work, speaking. I bent in closer. I said quietly, Jenna, you don't communicate that deeply with a mere coworker. It isn't what you believe. Her voice rose in protest. You're acting suspiciously. Suspicious? I sensed my composure wavering. Jenna, I have fought in battles. I'm skilled at reading people. That's something you should keep in mind. She growled, her eyes narrowing. Stop it, you have no idea what my life is like right now. Then tell me. I fired back, my rage building. For what I perceive appears to be treachery. Suffocating tension increased in the room. Jenna had a change in expression. I also witnessed her mask slipping for the first time. The rage turned into something more sinister. You believe you may ask me to provide answers? Would you say you had any influence here? Strength? I sneered. Jenna, you've underestimated me. I may be a civilian now, but I'm still a Marine, despite what you may believe. I know how to retaliate. She chuckled. A chilly, unpleasant sound. Strike back? Do you really believe that will make a difference? I've had enough of you. Her comments began to weigh heavily on me, as Lead did. Trying to maintain my composure, I said, You're making a mistake, you have no idea who you are fooling. Her chuckles subsided and were replaced by a cold stare. How do you intend to proceed? Give your Marine friends a call. They are unable to assist you at this time. Observe me, I said, my resolve pulsing through my body. The days that followed were spent preparing. I made contact with my brothers, assembling resources and information. Gregson thoroughly examined every facet of Rick's life, serving as my right hand. I discovered that he was a dubious-looking local businessman. His business operations were hazy, and rumors of illicit activity abounded. Plotting my path, I felt a sense of peace settle in me. There would be consequences for betrayal. I got my brothers together in a remote spot on a Friday night. I will begin, gentlemen. Their eyes were fixed on me. We're here to assist me because I need it. Someone I trusted has deceived me. Additionally, we'll make sure they are aware of the repercussions of their behavior. Whom? With a hint of inquiry in his voice, one of them inquired. I responded, maintaining my composure, Jenna and her accomplice, Rick, though they are unaware of their opponents. They believe they have won. What is the strategy? Gregson bent over, a gleam of anticipation in his eyes. We'll strike them in the tender spot. Their lives, their businesses, and their reputations. We'll make sure that everyone is aware of Jenna's actions and expose Rick for the scam that he is. Murmurs of agreement erupted around the room. Come on, let's do it. With a look of ferocious resolve, one of my brothers hissed. The next week passed in an almost unbearable blur. I observed my brothers as they methodically dismantled Rick's company from the inside out. Connections were broken, financial documents were exposed, and before long Rick was suffering from the consequences. His reputation vanished into ash and his accounts became frozen. While all of this was going on, Jenna continued to live in blissful ignorance of the impending storm. Persuaded that I remained the naive spouse she could control, she persisted in her act. I addressed her again one evening. How is your work coming along? I pretended to be inquisitive as I asked. With a clipped tone, she answered, You ask. But why? Just inquiring. I've heard some gossip regarding Rick's company. Something about having money problems. Her gaze wavered, revealing to me the flash of fear hiding underneath her composed exterior. That is only rumors. You are aware of human nature. Rumors? I said softly as I leaned in. That seems a little less lighthearted. It's probably time for you to start speaking the truth. I'm being honest here. She lost her temper. However, I could see the fissures opening. I stated in a firm voice, Not for long, everyone will soon discover your true identity. She was starting to show signs of panic as the tension increased. The knowledge that all she had created was starting to fall apart. A few days later, Gregson called me. Excitement buzzed in his voice as he remarked, You're not going to believe this. I have obtained some material that could be the last straw for Rick. What's in your possession? My pulse quickened, so I asked. Evidence of his illicit activities, including money laundering and tax evasion. We are capable of crushing him. Come on, let's do it. With a chilly smile forming on my face, I spoke, ascertain its public nature. The plan went as smoothly as clockwork. We gave local news organizations access to the material. Rick's entire world fell apart. Scandal erupted in the headlines, and the consequences was immediate. Jenna was taken aback. She paced our living room, and I watched. With confusion written all over her face, she had her phone pressed to her ear. "You're not understanding." I was ignorant. I promise, she yelled into the phone. But the person on the other end did not seem sympathetic. "Everything all right?" I questioned, sounding phony in worry. She turned to face me after spitting. "You are solely to blame for this. This was done by you." I crossed my arms and leaned back against the wall. "Jenna, I'm just a Marine. It was you who created this disaster." Her face changed from one of rage to despair. "I can make this right. Please give me some time." Momentum. I gave a sour laugh. "You've had enough time, and look where it led you, right on the verge of catastrophe." As the days went by slowly, the fallout from Rick got out of hand. I enjoyed seeing Jenna fall apart as her world turned into a prison of her own design. Her treachery was rumored to have turned her friends against her, spreading like wildfire. I saw her fall apart, her once bulletproof assurance melting into hopelessness. At last, the reckoning day came. I brought my brothers together for the final time, and we began to establish a silent covenant. "Tonight," I exclaimed. "I speak steadily, let's get this done." When we got to Jenna's house, the driveway was covered with long shadows from the moon. I had a rush of excitement, a feeling of imminent justice, and a sense of power. I rapped hard on the door as we got closer. Like a drum, the sound resonated across the deserted night. Jenna opened the door a few moments later, her shocked eyes expanding. "How come you're here?" Her voice trembled as she stuttered. "With my brothers on each side," I said. "Time to talk," and stepped inside. "What are your desires?" she was demanding. But she was no longer hiding. "I want you to be aware of the effects of what you've done." I spoke in a steady, quiet voice. "You lost who I am, and you believed you could betray me without suffering consequences. Who or what are you?" She let out a hollow chuckle as anxiety began to seep into it. "An ensign? You believe that matters at this point. You underestimate its importance." I looked at my brothers, who were poised to impose the seriousness of what I had spoken, standing like silent sentinels. "Rick is finished. Your ideal existence is crumbling, and before long you will have nothing left. This cannot be avoided." Her eyes flashed with fright as she took a step back. "You're not able to accomplish this." "I'm going to fight back, I swear," I repeated, moving in closer. "I think you lost that war. It's your reckoning now." I saw then that she was stuck, and that her life was coming apart like a frayed rope. I saw the reality in her eyes. She pleaded, her voice cracking, "Please. I had no intention of it getting this far. You did not think as I did." I broke off, my eyes unblinking. "Your spouse was deceived by you. You disloyal to your family. It's now time for the world to meet your true self." I saw her veneer crumble and the consequences of her actions come crashing down on her. My brothers moved behind me like a soundless wall of might as I took a step back. I gave her the last icy grin and said the words that decided her fate. I felt the burden leave my shoulders as I turned to go, Aura. With my brothers at my side, I had regained my honor as we left the rubble of my former existence. Outside, the freshness of a new beginning loomed just over the horizon, as the night air felt. I had persevered and come out stronger after being betrayed, and I was convinced of one thing as we vanished into the night. Always a Marine. Never a quitter. I appreciate you seeing. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video in order to see more tales like to it. Until we meet again.